Bismillah, alhamdulillah, sallallahu wasallam ala rasulillahi amma ba'd. Tayyib. We mentioned with regards to the authority and the status of the sunnah. Moving forward, continuing our introduction and our preface, hadith science, what is it? It says hadith science is a noble discipline and one, if not the most important of the Islamic arts. Hadith science consists of rules and fundamental principles that are used to determine the conditions of narrations and narrators with regards to acceptance or rejection. There are many branches and subgenres of hadith science, such as al-mustalah, hadith terminology, ilm al-rijal, literally knowledge of men, meaning biographical evaluation, gharib al-hadith, vocabulary of hadith, etc. The purpose of this slide is meant to introduce you and to familiarize you with what is ilm al-hadith. What is ilm al-hadith? What is it? For those of you who have actually heard of the term, regardless of how you've heard of the term, a footnote that you read. Hadith is collected by Ahmed in his Musnad and declared authentic by Albani in Sahih al-Jami'. Who's Ahmed? Who's Musnad? How you declare something to be authentic? Who's Albani? What is al-Jami', Sahih al-Jami'? Oftentimes, that's how many English readers are introduced to the science of hadith, by reading a footnote in a book. You read in Ibn Kathir's book, which is not about hadith. Ibn Kathir is tafsir. And in there he says, Imam Ahmed collected this hadith in his Musnad with a continuous chain, with a broken chain. You read in a book, Tirmidhi, and it says, gharib, this is hadith, this is a fair hadith, a gharib hadith. What does that mean? So those who've heard of hadith science, a general background, a general grasp of the principle. This is more continuing to introduce you and to familiarize you with what it actually is. Let alone those from among us who've never heard of hadith science. And those of among us who don't know is that there is an actual science with regards to hadith and how the sunnah was compiled, recorded, classified, graded, categorized, etc. And it isn't something that's sporadic or haphazard. It is an actual detailed science. There's something in Islam called science of hadith. Just like it's something in Islam called the science of the Quran, ulum al-Quran. The Quran is authentic, is the word of Allah. We believe in it. It's the guidance, hudan lil muttaqeen. And that's it. It's far deeper than that. There's a long history, a rich history of principles, foundations, practices, maxims that were laid down by the Muslims many, many years ago up until this day, dealing with the Quran. Its modes of recitation, its tafsir, reasons why verses were sent down, the ahkam of the Quran, the rulings of the Quran, وهكذا. The i'jaz of the Quran, the miraculous nature of the Quran is a science. Just like fiqh, there's a science to fiqh. How do we know that alcohol is haram? It's haram to drink alcohol. What verse in the Quran says that? Where does it say in the Quran that alcohol is haram? Does it say it in the Quran? Is there a verse that says that alcohol is haram? There's no verse that says that. وين هذه الآية؟ ها؟ تفضل. والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه. طيب وين أنه حرام ولا يجوز شربه؟ ها؟ فهمت كيف؟ It doesn't say that in the Quran, that khamr is unlawful and prohibited. It does not say that in the Quran. There are other things that say, or other verses that talk about khamr in the Quran. No question about that. But those words are not mentioned. Drinking alcohol is what? Prohibited. It doesn't say that in the Quran. So where do we get this from? Where do we get the ruling that it's haram to drink alcohol? There's a science. هذا هو المقصود. There are principles, there are rules, which the early Muslims, up until this day, use to determine the the ruling. Everybody understand this? They use to determine what? The ruling, what's lawful and what is unlawful. There is a science. Just like a law in the Western country or Eastern country, there's a law. There's a lawyer, there's a judge, there's a prosecutor, there's a jury, there is a what? Science, a system. And that system, from the early days, primitive man, whatever you want to say, gathering, congregating, decided, what do we do with this person, with that person? Everybody understand this? Up until the refined, detailed system of what? Of law. Everybody understand this? Law, criminal law. From the most wealthy people, from the best professions to have is being a what? A lawyer. Obviously, the lawyer has to spend years out of his life doing what? Studying what? A science. And he has to spend years being experienced in this science, this field, for the criminal to be sent to jail for the rest of his life, for the person to walk free, for the person to face capital punishment. There's a what? Science. They determine guilty or through a set of what? And principles and everybody understand this? So many Muslims are unaware of the fact that there is a science behind hadith. When we say hadith sahih, that's equivalent to saying the judge, he drops his gavel and he says what? Guilty. How many hours and days and months, if not years, went into that one gavel being dropped until it was determined that he was guilty. Everybody understand this? How many days, weeks, hours, months, years goes into the scholar saying this hadith is what? Sahih. This hadith is mawdu'. This hadith is kada. There is a what? A science. There's a science of hadith. Everybody understand this? So those who already know about it a little bit, we want to give you a little more. And those who have no clue about it, we want to at least introduce you to the fact that there is a science. And this is not the topic of our course. The topic of our course is the compilation of hadith and its history. However, ilm hadith and science and this, they're going to go what? Hand in hand, directly parallel. Everybody understand this? Khairan, inshallah. So therefore, hadith science is one of, if not, for sure we know it's one of, is in the top 3, top 5, no question. If not the first and the best and the most supreme, if that's even a word, the most supreme, because supreme is supposed to mean what? The top. If that's even a word, al-muhim. Hadith science is, if it's not in the top 3, it's the first. If it's not the first, it's in the top 3 of the Islamic what? Sciences and arts. Everybody understand this? That pertain to a religion, the field of the Quran. And in the Quran, there are other subfields. The Qur'an are not like the Mufassirin. The Mufassirin are not like the Fuqaha who specialize in ahkam, the rulings of the Quran. Everybody understand this? If you have is it permissible to have a dog in Islam? Yes or no? Yeah. It's permissible to have a dog? Can I have a dog? Yes or no? I can't. For guarding purposes. What does the Quran say about a guard dog? What does the Quran say about dogs? Nothing? Hunting. هذا هو. بارك الله فيك. It's permissible to have a dog for what? Hunting. Everybody clear on this or not? What type of dog can you hunt with? What is the ruling on the saliva of the dog when he go fetches the game and pulls it back? Do you have to wash the duck again? You have to wash whatever you're hunting, the rabbit, or not? These are rulings of the what? Of the what? Of the Quran, ahkam al-Quran. We didn't get into the hadiths about hunting dogs. We're just talking about Surah Al-Ma'idah. Chapter 5, Allah talks about dogs and using them for the purpose of hunting. So some ulama who specialize in ahkam al-Quran, the rulings of Quran. Everybody understand this? Within one field, Quran, those who specialize in the recitation of it. He's not a mufassir. He doesn't know the tafsir, but he knows all the recitations. He spends his life dealing with the recitation of the what? Quran. He doesn't drink cold water. Everybody understand this? He's a Quran reciter. He has talent and he has skill, a beautiful voice. He doesn't miss a letter. He's a Quran reciter. But you ask him, why was this verse sent down? What does this ruling mean? وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوءٍ. What does that mean? He says, I don't know. But I can recite it to you in this warsh, and this qira'ah, and that qira'ah. The mufassir, the scholar who specializes in tafsir, he says this verse was sent down concerning kada, al-quru' jamu qarwuhu kada, just like that. Everybody understand this? And the other fields as well. And from these fields, and from the best of them, if not the best, is the field of hadith. Everybody clear on this or not? Why is that? How is that? What's the proof of what you're saying? Perhaps we'll mention this later on. Moving forward. Hadith science consists of rules and fundamental principles, and also subsidiary principles you would write down in your notes. Also, subsidiary principles, branches as well. General, specific. That are used to determine the conditions of narrations and narrators with regards to acceptance or rejection. That's it. It's just that simple. What's the fiqh of the hadith, the meaning of the hadith? That's not initially from science of hadith. Initially, ibtida'an. Everybody understand this or not? Is the hadith authentic or not? Is the narrator reliable, trustworthy or not? How do we determine this? Because what I think. You have a handsome face, so you can't be a liar. Your hadith is accepted because you're handsome. You don't have such a handsome face, so your hadith is already what? Rejected. I saw you in a dream, so your hadith is automatically? Someone can say and use this. That's not ilmul hadith. Ilmul hadith is based off of what? Usul wa qawaid, usus, dawabit, ilmiya, mutqana, meticulous rules. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear this or not? That's what ilmul hadith is based off of. What is accepted and what is what? Rejected. Not off of a taste or a view or... Everybody clear this or not? فَهِمْتُمْ هَذَا. It's not a haphazard science or field. Everybody got this? It's based off of fundamental rules, fundamental principles, maxims, general and specific, with regards to two things. Al-qabul aw al-rad. Acceptance or rejection. There are many branches. That's the asl, but there are branches of hadith science. Sub-genres. Genres within genres. Sub-genres under one genre. We all know what a genre is. Naam. We all know what a what? What is a genre? What's the word genre mean? Type. What else? Category. Or? Subset. An example of a genre is what? Comedy? Okay, type. Comedy. That's a genre of what? That's a type of entertainment, for example. How many are there subgenres within comedy? Such as family, stand-up. Everybody understand this? Within one field. Everybody clear this or not? Everybody understand this? Tayyib. Move forward. These subgenres are many. Some of them, or one of them is called, that which is called al-mustalah, or ilmul mustalah, or mustalahul hadith, which is basically based off of the language, what's being said. Sahih, Hasan, Sahabi, Tabi'i, Mursal, Mustadrak. Terminology, wording. Everybody understand this? What is your wording? What do you mean by this word? Everybody understand this? Everybody clear this or not? You may say a word that's linguistically has a meaning, but that's not how you're using it. Everybody understand this? Such as what? In Canada, you say something that Canadians say. Hey, tayyib. You guys said it, not me. I didn't say. So say that was pretty good, eh? Tayyib. What does that mean? Am I asking you, was it pretty good? I'm asking you. That was pretty good, eh? I'm what? But in America, we may say what? Yeah, or like, hey, like that was like, I'm asking you, but you're saying that was pretty good, eh? Everybody understand this? So a person, he has to understand the terminology of Canada, the lugha, surgeons, physicians, they have a what? Terminology. Everybody understand this? You read it. What the heck is this big fancy Latin word? Biologists, marine biologists, people that study these things. What's the class? What's the genus? What's the family of this plant, of this animal? They have a what? Terminology. Fahimtum? Another subgenre of ilm al-hadith is that which is called ilm al-rijal. Ilm al-rijal, or al-ruwat, or al-jarh wa ta'dil, which linguistically means here, ilm al-rijal is knowledge of men. Ilm al-rijal, knowing men. Meaning biographical evaluation, i.e. the narrators of hadith. Who's the Sahabi, Kibar al-Sahaba, Sigar al-Sahaba, a Tabi'i, Kibar al-Tabi'in, who's Thiqah, who's Da'if, who's Muttaham, who's Matruk. Jazakallah khairan. Everybody understand this? Imam, Hujjah, terminology, Ilm al-Rijal. This narrator narrated from this person. He narrated from that one. He didn't meet. They didn't meet. This woman was a student of this one. She was a teacher of that one. The biographies of the men, of the narrators, men and women, and evaluating them. Who we can and cannot rely upon and trust. Who is accurate, who is inaccurate. Everybody understand this? The narrators of hadith. The hadith composed of how many parts? 2. Sanad and a metin. The sanad being the chain. The metin being the thing that's being said or being reported. You get news. You get some news about something that's happening in Canada. Where did you get the news from? You have to get it from someone. And in most cases, that person is oftentimes reporting from someone else. The thing that comes on the news. The people that are speaking, they're reporting from the people that are actually there. The anchor, the journalist, the reporter. That is the chain of narrators. And they're narrating what took place, what happened. As a train was derailed. An oil spill. An oil spill. Now, these tons, gallons of oil were the tanker. Everybody understand this? They're reporting you something. Who are those people? This news station is totally unreliable. Totally inaccurate. This news station, this reporter is totally reliable, totally accurate. So making the evaluation of these narrators moving forward, that obviously cannot be explained in a couple of minutes. This is just an introduction to get your mind to be inquisitive and insightful. There are many classes and lessons and lectures and books that we have done on this topic, and many people before me as well have done it as well. Inshallah ta'ala. Moving forward. Gharib al-Hadith, vocabulary of Hadith. Words that the Prophet ﷺ said and used. Understood, not understood, common, uncommon, etc. Subgenres. Moving forward. We need a volunteer to read. Fadl Adam.
Hadith science. What is sahih? The term sahih literally means healthy, correct, sound. According to the science of hadith, it is a narration that fulfills the following conditions. Number 1, its text must not conflict with the text of the Quran and the well-known established Sunnah. Number 2, it must have a continuous chain. Number 3, its narrators must possess religious piety and equity. Number 4, they must possess retentive memories. Number 5, there must not be any hidden defect or glitch in its chain or text.
Now we're talking about another branch of what hadith science is. One of the most important terms and one of the most commonly used terms is sahih. Sahih. Or sahih. Sahih. Sahih Muslim. Sahih Bukhari. No one says Sahih al-Bukhari. Illa, just a few people. Everybody understand this? What does this word mean? Linguistically, it literally means, according to the scholars of hadith, what? Nope, wrong. We proved this in the beginning of the class. Jazakallah khairan. Forgive me back what I gave you. That's all you're required to do. We explained this in detail. The linguistical meaning. When we say linguistical, it automatically means the Islamic meaning. Sahih? No. Exact opposite. The linguistical meaning is the language of the Arabs. What does this word mean in Latin? Not what it means or how it's used by Christian scholars. Everybody understand this? What does this word mean in Yiddish? Not how it's used or understood by people that are Jews, but someone who speaks the language. Everybody understand this or not? If I learn Polish, the language of Poland, does it mean I'm Jewish? Does it mean I'm Christian? I mean, I have no religion at all. But this is my mother tongue. And I actually studied the classical language of Polish. It has nothing to do with how the Polish Christians or Jews use and understand the term. Once more, you felt. We explained this too many times. We explained this what, Samir? Too many times. Linguistically, automatically means its meaning in Islam. Ahsantum. No. Why is it even important to understand Lugha al-Arabiya without Islam if we're all Muslims? It's very important. It's very important to study that. because you have to understand what the actual concept is and how it is connected to the Islamic science. So healthy. Think about someone or something that's healthy. What do you think about it? The first thing that comes to your mind is healthy. Your mother sees you, you come back from college and says you're not healthy, you don't look healthy. Everybody understand this? It's a meal. It said this was a healthy meal. What do you think about healthy meal? I remember something that comes up in your what? In your head. The word what? Healthy. Everybody understand this? Or correct. What's the first thing you hear? Correct. What's the first thing that pops in your head?
Right.
A check mark. No doubt. Ascent. And not red, right? Everybody understand this? The first thing you hear about is a what? Is a green check. Not a what? Not a red one, a red X. No doubt. Conditioned from TV, from school. This is the world that we live in. This is the world that we what? That we live in. Everybody understand this or not? Correct. Sound. Something is what? Sound. So this is going to have an effect on its meaning and understanding in what? In the science. Something is what? Sound. Authentic. Genuine. Healthy. Everybody understand this? It has a connection. Moving forward, according to the science of hadith, and notice we didn't mention any other science. Fuqaha, what they consider sahih is rejected to the scholars of hadith. They have no say-so in this science. What they consider is sahih. The hadith is authentic because of my principles and my fiqh mind, and it sounds good. It doesn't clearly go against the Quran. It sounds mustahsan, is maqbool. Abadan. Ahlu Makkah adra bi shi'abiha. Ahlu Makkah ish? Aywa. The scholars of hadith, they know better of what it is and what it isn't. And it doesn't go back to anyone else's science except for their science. The word sunnah is different. That's totally what? يختلف عن هذا. Because the word sunnah has different usages. Hadith is what? It's far, far, far more narrow. Everybody understand this? The scholars of hadith, humul mu'awwal. Al-marji' al-wahid. They are the only source, the first and last line of defense on what is sahih, and not the other groups of scholars. انتبهوا. هذه نقطة مهمة. كررتها لفائدة مهمة جدا. Moving forward, he says, according to the science of hadith, it is the narration that fulfills the following conditions. Notice, what did we mention here differently? What do we mention differently from the traditional books that you read? What do we mention differently? We mention mukhalafa, shudud, whatever ibarah you use. Munaqadha, mu'aradha. That the hadith, before we get into this, technicality has to be consistent with something. And tabihi, it's a big, very important faida here, is that the authentic hadith is not to conflict with the text of the Quran. And it is not to conflict with the well-known, we said here, well-known and established sunnah, the other narrations that are well-known and that are what? Clearly established. The hadith goes against one of these two sources, and we're not talking about a ta'arud fi dhahir faqat. We're talking about its actual ta'arud, fi'lan, in which is nakara. ما يجي كيف هذا الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول هذا الكلام. The Prophet ﷺ used to do this. And he said, Kaif, how is this? And Allah says that, which is clear as day. There's no way they can meet together. That's the first sign of this hadith is what? There's sanad munqati. No. Number two, after that, we go to the other well-known qualities. And which number 5 could even be number what? Number 2. Number 5 could be what? Number 2. This is totally unconventional and unorthodox. Totally unconventional and what? 99% of the books that you find in English, Allahu A'lam, the percentage even in Arabic, the first thing, hadith sahih is ish? Mattasala sanaduhu. We didn't write it like that. فهمت هذا? Most books you find in English, the first thing is going to say is a what? Right or wrong? Continuous chain. We didn't say that. So 5 could actually be number 2. However, labas. After that, it must have a continuous chain. What's meant by a continuous chain? Perhaps we'll get into that. Number 3, its narrators must possess religious piety and equity. They have to be righteous Muslims. Not perfect Muslims, but righteous. They can't be sinners and womanizers. There can't be drunkards. There can't be people that abuse things. There can't be fusaq. They have to be righteous, pious, not perfect, but pious. Continuous chain meaning everyone in the isnad had direct contact with the next person. The teacher met, the student met the teacher. And then the student, then he became a teacher by passing on to his student. That's a continuous chain. If we have enough time, we may explain these things in detail. We may not. Allah knows best. These things take more time. It's not the main topic of our discussion at all. Afterwards, they must pertain retentive memories. They can't be forgetful. Doesn't mean that they have to be perfect, but they have a basic understanding of holding the information with their minds or through their accurate notes. Number 5, there must not be any hidden defect or glitch in its chain or text. We don't have the time to explain this right now. This course is not on hadith terminology. This course is on what? Compilation. Mustalah is a different course. Many we have done, available online. This course is not for what? Mustalah. This is only ma'lumat tamhidiyya, faqat. Introductory, to get you to go back to what's already available, has been explained in detail with example. Tayyib? So no one say you teach us a class and you leave us hanging. You didn't explain it properly, you didn't explain it long enough. Everybody understand this? هذه معلومات إيش؟ تمهيدية فقط فحسب. ولا كلامنا منصب على إيش؟ تاريخ التدوين. Moving forward, hadith science, grading system. Next volunteer, please. Faddal.
There is a long and tiring process in declaring a hadith to be sound based off of the previously mentioned 4 conditions.
There's a long, there's a short. When we say long, يخرج به ماذا؟ هذا قيد يخرج به. هذا قيد يخرج به ماذا؟ Short. Student of knowledge, when you're studying something, you're studying a ta'rif, you always pay attention to muhtarazat al-ta'rif. القيود يخرج بهذا القيد كذا وكذا وكذا. يخرج بهذا القيد إيش؟ Everybody understand this? لو قلنا في العربي قلنا إيش؟ الحديث الصحيح ما اتصل سنده بنقل عدل الضابط عن مثله إلى منتهى من غير شذوذ ولا علة. فلما قلنا هو الحديث الذي يتصل سنده، هذا يسمى إيش؟ هذا قيد. هذا يسمى إيش؟ قيد. يخرج بهذا القيد إيش؟ هي السند الذي لم يتصل بنقل عدل، يخرج به فاسق، المبتدع، المجهول إلى آخره. الضابط قيد يخرج به سيء الحفظ، الضعيف، إلى آخره. إلى منتهاه قيد يخرج به ماذا؟ روى ثقة حافظ عدل عن متهم عن ثقة. فهمتم؟ من غير شذوذ. قيد يخرج به الحديث شاذ ولا إلا. قيد يخرج به الحديث المعل الذي ظاهره إيش؟ اتصال بنقل العدول الضابطين إلى آخره. هذه يسمى القيد. قيود مهمة جدا في التعريف. هذا نقص بالطلبة. طيب, we just don't want to just give you a class, Adam. We're not here to just give you a class. We're trying to actually what? Enlighten and educate and allow you to be better students by yourselves. Inshallah, you won't have to listen to me. Everybody understand this? Seriously. Anjad. We mean this honestly. You won't have to attend this. You study things that are bigger and better. Everybody clear this or not? Moving forward, the acceptable narrator must be
Muslim, sane, of age, upright and steadfast in his or her practice of Islam, far from weird practices or acts that are actually culturally or socially looked down upon.
The acceptable narrator who's included in the connection, the chain, he has to be a Muslim. قيد يخرج به ماذا؟ كافر. فهمتم? You got it now? He has to be what? Sane. When we say sane, what is it? Oh, what is excluded automatically? Majnoon, mentally ill. Number 3, of age. قَيْدٌ يَخْرُجُ بِهِ. Someone who's too young. Number 4, upright and steadfast in his or her. Hadith science is not just for men, practice of the religion. As we said, it can't be someone who's a fasiq. It can't be someone who's an open sinner, an evildoer. Clear on this? Even though there are evildoers who tell the truth. And there are righteous people who may lie, waliyadhu billah, from time to time. There are evildoers who may be mentally what? Accurate. Yeah, I know what I saw. I know what I saw. I'm not crazy. But we can't necessarily what? Take his narration. Everybody understand this? Far from weird practices or acts that are actually culturally or socially looked down upon. Things that are just really, really extremely peculiar. Because in most cases, when someone is doing something that's really peculiar, it proves what? يدل على إخلال, خلل. It's some type of something that's really messed up down the line. Now this doesn't mean, and it's not to be understood, that you can't be unique or do things differently. It doesn't mean that. We say something that's totally what? Totally crazy. Shout out, as we say in America. Totally what? If you saw somebody walking down the street or driving, like, what the heck is this? And he looks at it like a normal, simple thing. In most cases, something is what? Something is up. Everybody understand that something is what? Up. Or even if that isn't the case, the narrators of hadith are supposed to be the best of the best. And you can't necessarily be the best of the best in which you're practicing things which are majorly looked down upon culturally and socially. Obviously, there are details to this because we live in a non-Islamic society. Hishan. There's details. Someone may say, wearing a thobe is min khawarim. La yuqal hadha al-kalam. La yuqal hadha. There is Islamic culture within non-Islamic culture. And tabihu. There's the culture of talabat al-ilm among people that aren't students of knowledge. It's well known in Medina how people dress. It's well known. A person sees you with a short thobe, a white hat on, he already knows min talabat al-jami' al-islamiyya. But the normal average person that isn't in the student Islamic University of Medina, his thobe will be a different length, even if it wasn't musbil. So you can't say that having a thobe ila nisf al-saq had kharaj an al-adat. انتبهوا. هناك تفاصيل علمية دقيقة. لا تغلطوا. And there are many people in the East and in the West, they mix oranges and apples and they mix it up. Wearing a niqab is peculiar and totally culturally unaccepted, so don't wear niqab. Having a full beard is peculiar and weird, so don't what? Have a full beard. Wearing a thobe, it's a dress. You take it to the cleaners, they call it a what? A dress, not a shirt. It's called a what? It's a dress. So therefore, in Canada, you shouldn't wear what? You shouldn't wear thobe because it's totally what? La yuqal hadha shay. There's a difference. There's principles, there's details. Fahimtum? Moving forward, these things need to be explained in detail, which we're not doing right now. Next reader, please. We haven't had a volunteer from the sisters. Bismillah.
Hadith science, harm of weak, fabricated hadith. Any hadith that fails to fulfill the previous mentioned conditions is considered da'if, weak, evil, regardless whether its meaning is correct or incorrect, whether it is used to legal matters or not. And there are many levels, types, and forms of da'if hadith. In general, the hadith that is reported by a liar is called mawdu', fabricated spurious. The mawdu' hadith is the worst type of da'if hadith. It is unlawful to mention the mawdu' hadith unless you explain it is fabricated. The hadith masters of old have laid down
many meticulous
maxims to determine when a hadith is fabricated.
Tayyib. Next slide says, hadith science continued. Harm of weak / fabricated hadith. Their harm. Any hadith that fails to fulfill the previously mentioned conditions is considered weak and feeble. Regardless, it sounds good. It has a good sound to it. It seems like the Prophet said it. It doesn't go against the other hadiths. But if it fails to meet those conditions, then it is graded and classed as, like, if you can be the smartest person in the class and also get a what? An F. D is passing. D is what? He's passed. Khalas. He's maqbool. You got an F. You're the smartest what? You're the smartest best student in the classroom, but you didn't come on the last day for the final exam. You failed. Or the smartest person oftentimes is the class clown. The funniest person in the class, the goof in the class, not all the time, but oftentimes is actually the smartest person. Because humor and the ability of making others laugh is a type of intelligence by itself. So it's just such a joke, or the teacher's just such a lame loser, I'm not even taking it serious. And he's the smartest person in the class, but he doesn't what? Doesn't pass. He doesn't what? Doesn't pass. So even though he's the smartest one, on paper he has failed. So even if the hadith seems to be authentic, it sounds good, it looks good, if it doesn't fulfill those scientific principles, it is called da'if. Everybody understand this? And it's another fork in the road between the fuqaha and the muhaddithin. Samir? No doubt about that. They're lax and lenient and accepting. It sounds good. Yastahsinun, yani. This is too harsh, too rigid to say. Nah. Ahl al-hadith. If it doesn't meet their principles, then it's classified as da'if. Even if the meaning is correct or good or beautiful. Everybody understand this? Regardless, whether it is meaning, type, whether used, etc. This is يعني as an introduction. Is هناك تفاصيل وهناك مراتب ودرجات لدراسة علم الحديث. There are many levels and types, forms of da'if hadith. Some are extremely weak. Some are a little weak. Some are in the middle. Some are weak because of the chain, weak because of the metin, weak because of the metin and the chain. Many different types. Now, in general, the hadith that is reported by a liar, in general, not all of the time, there could be a mawdu' hadith that lam yarwihi kadhab. Lam yarwihi kadhab. It's called mawdu', fabricated or spurious. It's made up. The hadith, the mawdu' hadith is the worst type of da'if hadith. That's the worst. It is unlawful to mention a mawdu' hadith unless you explain that it is fabricated. You can't just say it's a good story, it's in this book, it's in that book. You do not mention it at all on the minbar at all, in the class at all, unless you clarify to the people that it's what? Fabricated. And even then, you still necessarily shouldn't do it because of the lack of basic knowledge among most Muslims today. If I gave the khutbah, and I said, جاء في حديث ضعيف فيما يروى عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وإن لم يثبت, how many people would leave the masjid and say, the imam said in the khutbah, the hadith kada kada kada. And they would totally miss out and lose on the fact that I clearly said it was what? Not authentic. Everybody understand this? Moving forward. The hadith masters of old. Of which? Yani? Sahih. The hadith masters of old had what? They have laid down many, meticulous, finely detailed, precise, and even oftentimes, according to many people, they will consider them and call them what? Petty and insignificant. You're just being petty, fault-finding. But to them, they were considered to be principles. Everybody understand this? Finely, what? Fine-tooth comb to get everything. Everybody understand this? And they did this because they loved the Prophet ﷺ. Everybody understand this or not? Like Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Qattan and others, Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi. When they were asked, some of them they were asked, it is mentioned, he said he was sick on his deathbed. And they said, yeah, Shaykh Fulan, aren't you afraid that you've backbidden all the salihin? اغتبت الصالحين وقعت في أعراضهم ألا تخاف أنت على وشك الموت فراش الموت. Don't you want to apologize to them? Don't you want to seek their pardon? That you spoke about them, you warned from them? He said, no. He said, for these people to fight against me on the day of judgment, for them to stand in front of Allah and say, he talked about me, he says, I would take that. I'll prefer that. Instead of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying to me, you heard people lying on me and you didn't defend me. You heard people making things up and you didn't take the necessary steps and efforts to prevent that. He said, I'd rather have them against me than who? Everybody understand this? This is the whole entire foundation of ilm al-hadith. It's the whole foundation of Tariq Tadbin Hadith. It's the whole reason why we're, inshallah, why we're here. Is trying to get to Jannah. For the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we study. And this effort, and this time, and this hour, and this money is spent, and we sacrifice and suffer. These technicalities are only to lead to one thing, which is spirituality. The driving force behind technicality should be what? Spirituality. And the purpose of technicality should be to go towards spirituality. Everybody understand this? It's like a seesaw, a boomerang. It keeps going back and forth. Everybody understand this? It never ends. We learn technical things in the deen for what reason? To sound smart, right? To look smart. We have this, we have that. I studied in Medina, kada, and I'm this. Ya'ni, this exotic word and term. This is a purpose for it, right? This book, Kalam al-Ulama, these aqsam, these categories, this, that. We learn these technical things just for this purpose, right? We only learn these technical things for the purpose of what? Spirituality, the heart, the soul. Because we have to learn how to do what Allah wants us to do. Everybody understand this? That's the purpose of all of this ilm and these hours of study. It's nothing more than the purpose of what? Spirituality, the spirit. And we can't lose out on this and forget this, guys. Because it's easy with this conference and this book and this principle and this narration and fulan and this sheikh and this scholar. It's very easy to lose scope or to lose focus on the ultimate goal. And that is the good pleasure of Ar-Rahman subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you sacrifice and you work and you study all of this information and you're not trying to get closer to Allah, you're an ultimate loser. Ultimate loser. Everybody saying this? And at the same time while we say this, there can't be spirituality without technicality. Just be a good Muslim. Qalb tayyib. Just have a good heart. You don't have to learn that. Just pray, brother. Just fear Allah, brother. And some of them may even use the Quran as a proof. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ. هل هذا الاستدلال صحيح ولا غير صحيح؟ صحيح أم غير صحيح؟ لماذا غير صحيح؟ لا تحتاج هذا ولا لف. هناك شيء بسيط جدا. واتقوا الله يعلمكم الله. هكذا القراءة. واتقوا الله يعلمكم الله. واتقوا ويعلمكم الله. It's not شرط. Fear Allah and He will teach you. Fear Allah for Him to teach you. Two different interpretations. It doesn't say وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ يُعَلِّمْكُ اللَّهُ. Ilm comes from taqwa. No. It's two different concepts. Fear Allah, and at the same time Allah will also teach you. So you can't just have a good heart. Just, you don't need to learn. There's no point to study these things, brother. You're wasting your time, yahi. Studying this, Shafi'i, qala fulan, wa fulan, wa aqsam. Waste of time. Learn the simple basics. Pray, fast, make hajj, make zikr, and that's it. There's no need for none of these technicalities. That's also what? That's not only wrong, but that's the doorway to shaitan. This was the foundation of the concept of tasawwuf. Read Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah's discussion on Sufiya. The Sufiya of past, not like the Sufiya of today. It evolved. The original concept of tasawwuf was what? Was accepted, bila shak. Was a beautiful thing. To avoid the dunya. To stay away from the pleasures of the worldly life. To stay away from the corrupt people that were worrying about politics and fighting and killing Muslims. Avoiding all of this corruption. Focusing on Allah, on the heart, on the akhirah. There's no question about that. They asked Imam Ahmed. They said, Atara Rajul. He says, do you think, oh Abdullah, that a man, he says, Shib'an, yufakir? وَيَرِقْ قَلْبُهُ? He says, will a man who has a full stomach, will he have a soft heart? Does he have the ability to really ponder and reflect? Imam Ahmed, who's the Imam of what? Ahl Sunnah, Qami al-Bid'ah, his name they gave him, the destroyer of innovations. He said, La urah. He says, I don't think so. They asked Imam Ahmed about that. He said, what? He said, I don't think so. That, if I took out Imam Ahmed's name, you would say that that's a statement of who? No question. The guys are stuttering and acting like they don't want to answer the question. Well, that, if someone said, if a man's stomach is full, does he have the ability to have a soft heart and to ponder and reflect? He says, I don't think so. You say this the kalam of who? Sufi, akhi. What's this? See, it's a mistake. Look, he said it is. Sufi. And then took off the tape and said what? Fahimtum. So the concept of tasawwuf originally was a what? Well, no doubt, there's no question. It's haram for you to stutter and to differ on that. وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Everybody understand this? But there was spirituality without there's no ilm. Avoid the circles of knowledge, avoid hadith. Stay away from all that stuff. لأنها مشغلة. It busies you. And that's when the shaitan did what? Pounced on them. He what? And then the bid'ah came. And the shirk and the kufr. And the inhilal. Leaving the religion. You don't have to pray. You don't have to fast. You reach enlightenment. Anta arif. Then you go to the arsh and visit Allah. Naam? Adam? You leave this earth and you do what? Samir. What do you do when you get to the arsh? What happens when you get there? What did he say? What did the man say when he got to the arsh to visit Ar-Rahman? He said no one was there. This is what he said. He said no one was there. Allah wasn't there. He says, oh Allah, where are you at? I've come to visit you. Allah said, I came to the earth to visit you. Everybody understand this? Allah said, I came to the earth to what? Do you think it's happened like this overnight, Akhi? Honestly, no. It didn't start off like that, because no Muslim would ever start talking like that and thinking like that. No Muslim would ever say those words that you can't love Allah, but you have to have ishq. You have to have passion with Allah. Or a wali, a religious man is better than a prophet. Or the Prophet is still alive, and this and that, and the bid'ah, and the khurafat, and the shirkiyat, the problems of Sufiya. Do you think it started out there overnight? No, no Muslim would ever say that. It's a gradual what? Process. And the first step of this gradual process was what? No. What I just told you. There you go. Give me back what I what? Gave you. There was no what? There was no ilm, no specific ilm. Everybody understand the point? So it has to be a what? A balance. It can't just be all spiritual without actually learning the detailed what? Knowledge. And it can't just be learning detailed knowledge without actual fahimtum. Anytime we leave one of these two principles, we have what we have today. This group says this, and that group says that. Fahimtum is an ultimate balance. And the scholars of hadith, they traveled, they suffered, they sacrificed. They did all of these things for only what? One purpose. And that purpose was what? Huh? Nothing more. Seeking Allah's good pleasure. Everybody understand this? This is crucially important now to understand. Khayran inshaAllah. We'll stop here for now with regards to this slide. How much time do we have left, Adam? What time is the session over? At 7? 7? طيب خير إن شاء الله. All right, with that being said, huh? 7:30. طيب, Bismillah. Excellent. خير إن شاء الله. All right, before we go further, where are the questions at? Huh? Underneath? All right, so before everyone leaves, if you can, inshallah, make sure you take the first module, the question, the cheat sheet. It's not actually a cheat sheet because the answers aren't here, but it's a study guide. A study guide for you to properly understand and evaluate yourself before the actual evaluation, the test, with regards to the course. Everybody understand this? Make sure you take this before you leave. There are 20 questions here. Don't leave without this, huh? And also get the PDF emailed to you as well. All right, let's move forward. Can we have a volunteer to read the Arabic? تفضل شيخ عمر. تمهيد. قال المؤلف رحمه الله أن أشرع أبوابي وفصولي. هذا كله مضاف. دبل مضاف. نعم. أن أمهد بين يدي أبحاثه وموضوعاته بشرح عنوانه. فالتدوين في اللغة تقييد متفرق وجمع المتشتت في ديوان ومنه جمع الصحف في كتاب وهو فارسي معرب. وفي الاصطلاح يستعمل التدوين بمعنى التصنيف والتأليف. طيب, says here, now we're going back to the book. Alright, guys, we're on the book now. We're going to the original book. Sheikh Zahrani, rahimahullah. We finished our English slides for today and for this module. Now we're going back to the other sources like a hybrid curriculum. The author says, before I get into the actual book, we read the introduction in detail yesterday. He now gives you a brief definition of the title of the book, or the title of the topic, or the course. And that is Tadween al-Sunnah or Tarikhu Tadween al-Hadith. He says, فَالتَّدْوِينُ فِي اللُّغَةِ. Everyone stay with me, please. Those who read Arabic, who don't even read Arabic, you can listen. You can also help you learn it better. He says the word tadween in the Arabic language, according to the scholars of Hadith, means what? Huh? لا أستغفر الله. كم مرة شرحنا هذا الشيء. How many times did we explain this? He says فالتدوين في إيش؟ في اللغة. في الإيش? In the Arabic language, that means, according to what scholars in Islam? النحاة or لغويين. Not the fuqaha, not the muhaddithin, not the scholars of Aqidah. فهمتم? According to the what? Language. How many times you have to explain this, guys? How many times you have to explain this principle before you get it? Everybody clear or not? فالتدوين في اللغة تقييد المتفرق وجمع المتشتت في ديوان. وطبعا these فوائد, or some of these فوائد, كما قد وعدنا, as we've promised, are for who? Ahsant. Not for everybody. The course is a mixture. Certain people on basic level. Certain people are in the middle. And there are others in attendance, let alone those who are watching online, who's going to study and read later on, who are what? Advanced. And it's haram and unfair for us to totally ignore and neglect them. Okay, so if you're a little bit lost or this is too difficult, it's okay. If you go to a lecture and you understand 60%, wallahi, that's a major benefit. If you can get 70%, that's 7 out of 10 shots you made. 7 out of 10 passes you completed. You're considered what? Accurate or inaccurate quarterback? Bila shak. There's no doubt about that. You're accurate. Everybody understand this? You get 9 out of 10, sharpshooter. Everybody understand this? Everybody understand this? So it's not and this goes to ego as well. It's not a condition that you have to understand every single thing in the class. Who said that? Min qala hada. Who said that? That you have to go to a class and understand every single thing, unless you automatically feel what? Entitled. And that's the problem with many of us. You don't have to understand every single thing in the class. Wallah, if you got one faida, it wouldn't be a waste. Let alone 2, let alone 10, let alone half. You understand this? Let alone 60%, 70% of the class. So we have mutafawwiqeen, we have people that are advanced, and we have to give them what? We have to feed them as well. Everybody understand this? But everyone will eat. No one will starve. But it doesn't mean that you'll be able to enjoy every single thing on the entree. فهمتم? Everybody understand this or not? طيب فالتدوين في اللغة تقييد المتفرق وجمع المتشتت في ديوان ومنه جمع الصحف في كتاب وهو فارسي معرب. يعني هذه الكلمة ليست كلمة عربية أصلية، كلمة فارسية، وإنما عربت. It was Arabicized. Many words were not part of the original Arabic language, but they were Arabicized. طيب وفي الاصطلاح يستعمل التدوين بمعنى تصنيف وتأليف. Tadween means, according to the technicalities, authoring, writing, compiling, ماشي. طيب لا يهمنا كثيرا. أما السنة في اللغة فهي السيرة والطريقة حسنة كانت أو قبيحة. ومنه قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم من سن في الإسلام سنة حسنة فله أجرها وأجر من عمل بها من بعده من غير أن ينقص من أجورهم شيئا. ومن سن في الإسلام سنة سيئة كان عليه وزرها وزر من عمل بها من بعده من غير أن ينقص من أوزارهم شيئا. ومنه قول خالد بن زهير الهذلي فلا تجزعن عن سنة أنت سرتها فأول راض سنة من يسيرها. As far as the word sunnah in Arabic language, then it means a sirah. It's a synonym of the word what? Sirah, a way, a method, a plan, a style, a mode, a tradition. Whether it's good or bad. It could be a horrible sunnah, but linguistically it's called a sunnah. Everybody clear on this? An example of this is the Prophet ﷺ's statement. Listen how deep this is. The author is explaining the linguistical meaning through a religious usage. The linguistical meaning through a religious usage. Everybody understand this? The Prophet ﷺ says, "Man sanna fil Islami sunnatan hasanatan." Anyone who makes a good sunnah in Islam, فَلَهُ أَجْرُهَا وَأَجْرُ مَنْ عَمِلَ بِهَا. He will receive its reward and the reward of all of those who follow him without diminishing any of their rewards. وَمَنْ سَنَّ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ سُنَّةً سَيِّئَةً. And he who makes a bad sunnah in Islam shall receive its sin and the sin of those who followed him without diminishing any of their sins. This goes to show you the importance of da'wah in Islam and also the danger of da'wah in Islam. It's dangerous. You say one mistake, you get 1 million viewers. You make one inaccuracy, you quote one fabricated hadith, you make up something, you don't even realize it. And 1 million people heard you say it, and they start practicing it and passing it on. It's dangerous. Do you have the proper understanding of this hadith, ya akhi? فعلا لو سئلت أنت هل فهمت الحديث? Do you understand the tatbiq of this hadith before you pass it on to others? And 2 million, 5 million people watch you. And you say this is the practice of the hadith, and it's totally what, Samir? Totally wrong. The khata yarji ila men. Who gets the sin now? But somebody may say, I didn't do it intentionally, so Allah won't punish me. I won't get the sin. No, you do get the sin. Because you have no business talking about hadith if you haven't properly studied hadith. And anything else. Everybody understand this? You have no business dealing with this type of information you haven't studied properly. Passing on information, mashi. Tuballigh an-nas bi uslub, mashi. Teaching the people, conveying it, no problem with that. But you start interpreting and explaining and passing it on and saying this is the proper way, and you're not sure, it's very dangerous. Just think about 1 million people following you in this era. How many sins is that, Adam? How many? That's only 1 million viewers. How many people did they tell about it and pass it on to? Everybody understand this? So dawah is so beautiful in Islam. And at the same time, it's also what? They just got to be careful. For him, ta'akhi, with regards to not rushing, finish your studies first. Get something under your belt first before you start talking about this and that. Everybody clear on this or not? So the Prophet, he says, he who makes a sunnah in Islam good will receive the reward, bad, etc. What is the highlighting point from the hadith? Ma shahid min al-hadith? What's meaning here in this hadith? A prophetic practice, something that's neglected, forgotten about, abandoned. Something that's already permissible in the deen, and then you make it into a practice. Like here in the masjid. What did Sheikh Hassan say? Every Sunday morning we have what? Community breakfast. Every Sunday morning we have a what? Community breakfast. What's the ruling of Muslims eating together? Bid'ah or not? No question. It's permissible. Congregating, eating, labas. There's nothing wrong with eating together. Everybody understand this is a good thing. So now I'm going to practice that every Sunday we have a what? Community breakfast. We see the shabab, we see the elders, we know what's going on. And he says anyone who comes to Abu Hurairah Center has to take it back to his country and also what? Implement it. We implemented it in New York City. Said Fajr, Faida, and food. 3 F's. Triple F's, huh? In Queens. Fajr, then is the what? Faida, and then is the what? Food. You can't lose. Everybody understand this? So, hypothetically speaking, the brothers and sisters at Abu Hurairah Masjid, Sheikh Hassan, what did he do? I did what? I took his sunnah. Everybody clear on this? I took his what? His tariqah, his way. And the hadith does not mean to make a bid'ah. Sunnah hasana yani bid'ah hasana. La yuqal hadha shay. Evident. There's no bid'ah hasana. What's meant by sunnah hasana is something that's originally from the deen, but the people have forgotten about it. The people stopped practicing it. The people became preoccupied. Or the people never even thought about it like that. Everybody understand this? The people never even what? Thought about it like that. Everybody clear this or not? So that's what the word sunnah linguistically means. He then quotes from the poet who says, فَلَا تَجْزَعَنَّ مِنْ سُنَّةٍ أَنْتِ سِرْتَهَا فَأَوَّلُ رَاضٍ سُنَّةٍ مَيْسِرَةٍ. طيب ما نترجم هذا. ومن معانيها في اللغة أيضا حسن الرعاية والقيام على الشيء وذلك من قول العرب سن الرجل إبله إذا أحسن رعايتها والقيام عليها. Another linguistical meaning of the word sunnah that we didn't mention in the module in English is to look after something, to take care of something. Type. We're not going to translate that either. هذا للمتفوقين فقط. وفي الاصطلاح تطلق السنة ويراد بها عدة اصطلاحات. According to the terminology, istilah, the sunnah has several different what? Usages and meanings. We're now talking about what now, Hisham? The deen, the terminology, the technicalities of Muslims. Number one, we need a new reader, please. Faddal.
قال ابن منظور وقد تكرر في الحديث ذكر السنة وما تصرف منها والأصل فيه الطريقة
وإذا أطلقت
في الشرع وإنما يراد بها ما أمر به النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ونهى عنه وندب إليه قولا وفعلا مما لم ينطق به الكتاب العزيز ولهذا يقال في أدلة الشرع الكتاب والسنة أي القرآن والحديث.
طيب, Ibn Manzur, Sahib Lisan al-Arab, he explains the term sunnah. And he's giving a definition of the term sunnah. He says, وَقَدْ تَكَرَّرَ فِي الْحَدِيثِ. There are many hadiths that mention the word what? Sunnah. وَمَا تَسَرَّفَ مِنْهَا قَوْمٌ يَسْتَنُّونَ بِغَيْرِ سُنَّتِي. مَا تَسَرَّفَ مِنْهَا. Sunnah, sannu, ما تصرف منها. والأصل فيه الطريقة والسيرة. الأصل في إيش؟ اكتبوا في اللغة. والأصل في إيش؟ في هذا المقصود. قال وإذا أطلقت في الشرع, whenever it's used in the deen, then it means what? فإنما يراد بها ما أمر به النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ونهى عنه وندب إليه قولا وفعلا ممن لم. He says anything the Prophet ﷺ commanded, ordered, forbade, encouraged, statement or action that's not found in the Quran. General broad usage of the term sunnah in the Islamic sense. The way of Muhammad ﷺ. Mandatory, have to, you don't have to, optional, أي شيء. That's not in the Quran. Number two, وقال الإمام الشاطبي ويطلق إذا عمل على وفق
ما عمل عليه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ويقال فلان على بدعة إذا عمل على خلاف ذلك.
ماشي. ثم قال أيضا
ويطلق لفظ السنة على ما عمل عليه الصحابة
وجد ذلك
في الكتاب أو لم يوجد لكونه اتباعا
لسنة ثبتت
عندهم لم
تنقل
إلينا أو اجتهادا
مجتمعا
مجتمعا عليه منهم أو من خلفائهم لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم عليكم بسنتي وسنة الخلفاء الراشدين المهديين.
طيب, Shatibi's kalam here, similar things we've mentioned in the English as well. Sunnah could be used what the Sahaba were upon as a whole. The Aqidah, the proper practice, such as a book, for example, Sharhu as-Sunnah. And there are things in that book that do not pertain to what? Ahsanti. There are things in that book that don't pertain to Masail Aqadiyah. Everybody understand this? Aqidah is based off of what? Exactly. What's been and what we have been informed of in the Kitab and the Sunnah. Everybody understand this? Certain things, whether it's Barbahari or others they've mentioned in those books that are not issues of Aqidah. That's why you find in Aqidah books, وَنَرَى الْمَسْحَ عَلَى الْخُفَّيْنِ. It says, and we believe that it was correct to do what? Wipe over the leather socks. Wiping over the leather socks. Masala Aqadiyya wa la? No. Why is it mentioned in the book of Aqidah? Because it's what the Sahaba were upon. And these groups, they started saying, don't wipe over the leather socks. Am I clear on this or not? They say, we make dua for the Muslim ruler. Make dua for the hakim. Masala Aqadiyya wa la? It's not Aqidah. That's a practice that the people of Bid'ah were going against, talking about the ruler in public, and the people in Al-Hadith says, we will do the what? Opposite, and make dua for him. May Allah guide him and correct him. For him tum. Everybody understand this? So, the usage of the sunnah in contrast to the word Bid'ah. Usage of the sunnah with regards to the practice of the Sahaba. Everybody understand this? طيب. وبعد أن استقرت
المصطلحات وقعدت العلوم الإسلامية
وقعدت،
وقعدت العلوم الإسلامية أصبح بلفظ السنة مفهومات ومصطلحات جديدة
يعني تلكم الاستعمالات قديمة. It's old, ancient. Then after the sciences became formulated and they evolved, then it became well known, these usages. The sunnah and the bid'ah, that's talking about in the times of the Salaf al-Salih, the early generations. Everybody understand this? The general practice of Islam is what? The sunnah, the Quran, the understanding of the Quran, the practice of the Quran. All of that is from the what? مِمَّا جَاءَ بِهِ Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad brought all of that, his way, Islam as a whole. فهمتم? But that's not talking about the technical sciences after there was evolution. And there was a science of fiqh. Because back then, most of the people, they studied things as a whole. There was no nahu and sarf. There was what? Lugha al-Arabiya. But after time, then they started what? Separated. The mufassir was the qari, was the one who knew about the Quran, all in one. Then later on, then what? Tafsir, asbab nuzul, al-qira'at, ahkam al-Quran, ulum al-Quran. هذا مقصود كلام المؤلف. بعد أن استقرت الاصطلاحات المصطلحات وقعدت العلوم الإسلامية. فهمتم؟ طيب تفضل. أولا
ما يذكره المحدثون في كتبهم كل ما أثر عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من قول أو فعل أو تقرير أو صدق.
That which the ulama of hadith mentioned, as we explained in English. We explained this in English already. What the ulama of hadith, what they mean when they use the word sunnah. And that is everything that is narrated. He didn't say sahih. كل ما أثر. That which is reported from the Prophet ﷺ, statement, action, approval, or description. شرحنا هذا. بعدين ما يذكره علماء أصول الفقه.
كل ما صدر عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من قول أو فعل أو تقرير مما يصلح أن يكون دليلا لحكم شرعي.
That which the Prophet ﷺ said, statement, action, or approval, which can be used for a proof, dalil shar'i. I.e., the Prophet ﷺ may say something, or he may do something, which is not used as a legislative proof. This is according to the scholars of who? No. We're done with the scholars of hadith. That's finished. It's done. Not fiqh. Usul al-fiqh. The scholars of usul al-fiqh. Legal theory. Fuqaha shay wa usuliyun. فهمتم? So the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, he wore a turban. هذا فعل ولا لا؟ هل يصلح أن يكون دليلا شرعي؟ إلا يصلح على إباحة لبس الإمامة، لكن لا يصلح أن يكون دليلا على استحباب لبسها فضلا عن وجوب لبسها. فهمتم الفرق؟ في فرق، انتبهوا. Everybody understand this? بعدين ما يذكره الفقهاء في كتبهم ملامة وعتاب ولا عقاب أو ما أمر به. طيب, the fuqaha, when they use the term sunnah, what do they mean? That which you should do, but it's not necessarily haram, not to do. The scholars of hadith, who can give me their usage of the word sunnah? Fadl, yes.
Okay, so description of the Messenger of Allah.
You missed out already, Adam. Nah.
Okay, I got this.
Anything that is attributed to the Prophet ﷺ. Under the word anything is included statement, action, approval, etc. Everyone understand this? Whether it's sahih or not. That's hadith, that's sunnah, rubiya, narrated. And the scholars of fiqh, the fuqaha, the madhabs, the schools of thought, when they say this act is a sunnah, what do they mean? A recommended act, preferable, something that you should do, but it isn't haram if you don't do it. All right, so let's see if we understood this. The beard, sunnah or not? Ahsant. The first thing you do is what? According to who? What do you mean? According to the scholars of hadith, is the beard sunnah? Allah. Allahu musta'an. Lam nafham shay'an. According to the scholars of hadith, A man wearing a beard is sunnah or not? I said, bila shak. Because it's something that the Prophet ﷺ what? No, before he did is the what? Ahsant. A'ful liha. Let the beards grow. And it's also something that he did. We used to know قراءة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بالتراب لحيته. His beard would shake in a silent prayer. The Nabi, fil. His taqreer, he allowed the Sahaba to have what? Beards. Abu Bakr's father, when he accepted Islam, the day of Fath, he said, غَيِّرُوا هَذَا الشَّيْبِ. He says, dye his hair. It's white, dye his hair. وَجَنِّبُوهُ السَّوَادِ. Don't dye it with black dye. He acknowledged Abu Bakr's father having a So the beard, according to the ulama of hadith, is a sunnah or not? Bila shak. According to the scholars of fiqh, sunnah or not? No. Abadan. It's fard. The early fuqaha, the pure organic fiqh. As far as the fuqaha today, or some people say today, or in the 10th or the 11th or the 8th century, that is only makruh, that wasn't the fuqaha of the past. There was no difference of opinion. كما ذكر الحافظ ابن حزم رحمه الله في مراتب الإجماع. وكما قال الشيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية إن ابن حزم من أعلم الناس بالإجماع والخلاف. خذوا الفائدة. قال ابن حزم من أدرى الناس بالإجماع. Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri. So if he says it's ijma', what does that mean, Samir? فَعَلَيْكَ بِهِ لأنه لا يبالي أن إيش يخالف جماهير الجماهير. عرفت كيف؟ Ibn Hazm narrated that there's ijma' على تحريم حلق اللحية. It's haram, according to all of the scholars, to shave the beard. So a beard, according to the scholars of fiqh, sunnah or not? Is it sunnah or not? I never asked you about wajib, ya akhi. I never said anything about wajib. Laysat sunnatan. Laysat min as-sunnah. But to the scholars of hadith, it is from the sunnah. Because it's something that has been reported from the Prophet ﷺ. You got it now? Everybody understand now how it works? Everybody understand this? This is a prime example of a mistake that you can avoid by having a basic knowledge of these things. Everybody understand this? So the people today say it's just a sunnah to have a beard. That's wrong. That's an error. Tight. Moving forward. And there are many other examples as well. طيب نتعدى هذا إلى أن قال. Where's the page down on this instead of just scrolling like this? Is there a page down? طيب.
If you use your index and your middle finger, you can both, and you can move up and down.
طيب. شكرا anyway. Sorry. الباب الأول. We had a new qari. تفضل. ذكره
بالتمهيد ما أضيف إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من قول أو فعل أو تقرير هي أحد
قسمي
الوحي الإلهي الذي أنزل على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم والقسم الآخر من الوحي هو القرآن الكريم الذي هو كلام الله رب العالمين
منزل
غير مخلوق منه
بدأ. طيب جزاك الله خيرا. أحسنت. The author says here الباب الأول. This is the first actual what? Chapter, which we generally laid out. Now we're going to go into detail. First chapter is what? Concerning مكانة السنة وعناية السلف بها. The status of the Sunnah, and how the early Muslims paid a great deal of attention to it. It wasn't something that was, no, they was, they looked after it. It was muhim jiddan. Tayyib, so that's the chapter. Everybody got this? We're in chapter 1. Al-Fasl al-Awwal, the first section. And we also explained this and laid this down in simple English as well, in the module. We talked about the authority of the Sunnah. Naam. Tayyib. Said that the curriculum is a what, Asad? We said it's a what? We said that the curriculum is what? We said hybrid. قلنا هذا. We clearly said that. We said that the curriculum is a what? A mixture. The English module and the we mentioned that. Naam. طيب. First chapter is Babu. He says ما جاء في التسوية بين حكم الله أو حكم كتاب الله وحكم سنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. First section is a taswiya, equality, equal, same, between the ruling of the Book of Allah and the ruling of the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah. So as we explained and debated before, is the Quran and Hadith, are they equal? Yes or no? And also they aren't equal. Talking about authority, yani hujjiyah, legal authority, they are equal, as we explained. The author, he says, the meaning that we previously gave, not the meaning of the fuqaha, recommended, talking about anything that's from the Prophet ﷺ, is one of the types of divine revelation. هي أحد قسمي الوحي الإلهي. The Prophet ﷺ received how many types of revelation? 2. He received how many types? 2. 2 types of what? Revelation that Allah gave him. 2 types. Now, the first was the Quran al-Kareem, which is what? Speech of Allah. Harfan wa lafdan. طيب. Do we even have to say that? Why do when do we have to say that? Ahsant, when there's a need to say that. The kalam of Allah. You don't have to say غير مخلوق. And is it created? The wording, the meaning, those things are mentioned when there's the people who say. Everybody understand this? Because it's first of all, that's unnecessary. Initially, it's not mentioned in the Quran. Everybody understand this? It's not initially necessary or lazim, and it can also be confusing. He says, not created. So, whoa, wait a second. Can the Quran be created? You understand this? But the people who are going around and saying that the Quran is makhluk, it's not the kalam of Allah, then it's a total different story. Then you, what? Should or have to, what? Say that. No question about that. غَيْرُ مَخْلُوق. It's not created. Naam. It says, munazzal, sent down. مِنْهُ بَدَأَ وَإِلَيْهِ يَعُودُ. From Allah it began, and to Him it will. مَا مَعْنَ هَذَا إِلَيْهِ يَعُودُ. It will return to Allah. Or the Quran will return to Allah. كيف هذا? That the Quran will be removed from men towards the end of time. طيب. Author says, وقد جاءت فضل يا أخي ارفع صوتك لو سمحت. مسرحة. He says, and there are many verses, Sunnah and consensus of the Salaf, no difference of opinion, musarriha, clear and frank, of what we previously mentioned, that the ruling of the Messenger of Allah's Hadith is equal to the ruling of the Quran, the Book of Allah. طيب. فمن القرآن الذكرى. طيب. Jazakallah khairan. Inshallah, there will be assignments in this course as well that will be given out via the emails. And I'm telling you right now, one of those assignments will be, if you want to write it down, if you want to memorize it, however you like, one of those assignments will be an essay on the Quranic styles of the status of the Sunnah. The styles of the Quran, Asalib al-Quran. Meaning, an example of this, you would say, certain times the Quran tells us to obey Muhammad. Certain times the Quran says he doesn't speak from his desires. Certain time the Quran tells us that it's a means of guidance. Certain verses the Quran says it's a means of Jannah. And you mention the verse afterwards. Everybody understand this? So you say in your essay, from my research, I've come across 10 Quranic styles of establishing the status of the Sunnah. The first style is stating that Muhammad's way is a means of Allah's good pleasure. And then you quote verse 6, ayah such and such. If you want to quote, Ibn Kathir said in English, everybody understand this in Arabic, everybody understand this? Al-Uslub al-Thani, the second Quranic style. Allah warns us from disobeying Muhammad. فَلْيَحْذَرِ الَّذِينَ يُخَالِفُونَ عَنْ أَمْرِهِ أَن تُصِيبَهُم نِعْمَةٌ مِنَّا فِتْنَةٌ. Everybody understands? فَلْيَحْذَرْ. هذا أسلوب قرآني. That's a Quranic style which proves the what? مكانة السنة والتسوية بين حكم كتاب الله وحكم سنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. فهمنا هذا? And then you quote the ayah. That's going to be a report to do. Everybody understand this? The Quranic styles of speaking about the status and the legal authority of the Sunnah. Everybody understand this? طيب, moving forward. So the author here, he mentions how many ayats? وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ, which is from Surah Najm. Then Allah says from Surah وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ from Surah An-Nahl, which is number 16. Then Allah says وَمَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ from Surah Hashr. Then Allah says قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ Al-Imran, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ An-Nisa. Everybody write this down. Number 1, Surah Najm, verse 3 to verse 4. Number 2, Surah An-Nahl, verse 44. Surah Al-Hashr, verse 7. Al-Imran, 31. An-Nisa, 65. You got to be able to take notes fast. Everybody understand this? And if not, go back to the recording. Tayyib, inshallah. Raise your hand if you have your own personal recording of the courses. Only one sister? 2, a brother?
It's online at that's why.
So what if Abu Huraira cancels their YouTube account? Or what if YouTube crashes?
It's not even on YouTube, it's on the website itself.
What if the website crashes?
Okay, inshallah, if they both crash, I might ask a brother.
Tayyib. From a student of knowledge, is what should you do? Number 1, pay attention. That's first and foremost. That's your first line of what? Defense. Number 2, you should take notes from time to time. There are different schools of sitting in class. We mentioned this. Some say take notes of everything. Some take notes of the most important things. And some say don't take notes at all. But let's say, for example, the first is the what? The recorder on the desk. I want to get every single word. Then I'm also going to write down my own notes. And then I'm going to do what? No, first is pay attention. Then take notes, and thirdly is recording. So only one sister's recording the class. That's pretty pathetic and sad. That's pretty pathetic. Everybody understand that's pretty what? Pretty pathetic. We have teachers in the college of Hadith that will prevent us from recording it with phones and devices. They will prevent it. They would get upset. They would leave if they saw a phone on the table because they wanted the students to be what? And strong. And there were other teachers that had no problem say, "Tafaddal, bring the recorder." Everybody understand this? 1 second, please. And then there were some teachers, I'm not saying me, I'm not saying it was or it wasn't, but I'm not saying me, they said, don't take notes. And some of the students, they did what? It's not a recorder. They would do what? They would sneak the recorder in. Because it was so much, it was too difficult. Or it was such beautiful benefits that he was giving out. And they wanted to have what? Everything. Everybody understand this? Some teachers, they would sneak the recording in. They wouldn't put it on the internet and spread it. No, for their own personal benefit. What did Abu Dawood do with his son? What did he do with his son in the halaqah? In Basra. He brought his son and he did what? He put a fake beard on his son's face. Everybody understand this? You see in a movie or a cartoon, somebody with a beard and a with a fake beard on his son's face. Because his son was too small to be in the majlis. And certain ulama, they wouldn't allow small young teenagers to be in a circle. Everybody understand this? What's the point we're trying to get to? You're saying sneaking and recording, astaghfirullah, haram, the mashayikh, la. The maqsood is what? Hirs. You gotta be diligent. You gotta be what? Diligent. And he was so diligent that it was impossible for his son to miss out on this opportunity. For him to mamla. Everybody understand this? Another, I won't mention this sheikh's name. He's a modern day mashaykh, sheikh known to all of you. He was working on a book and he needed a manuscript for a book. So he said he went to Germany And it's well known, Germany, France, these different places, they have many precious manuscripts, which they took from the Crusader days, the colonist days. Now, they took back to the lands of the non-Muslims. He said that this was the only place where this manuscript was available. And he said at the time you couldn't make a copy of it. The Sheikh said, Wallahi, he said, I swear by Allah, I never thought about stealing a day in my life except for that one day. Everybody understand this? He said, I never ever thought about stealing anything. But on that day, I what? Why? Because he wanted to be a thief? Because he wanted to disobey Allah? Because of what? Everybody understand the point we're trying to get to? So some of the students, they would record even if the Sheikh what? Didn't know. Because they thought or they saw in this issue, malish, there's no obedience in this. What you're giving out has to be what? We got to take this down, Sheikh, malish. Even if you don't like it. Everybody understand the point? And most of us, or many of you, Allah, I know for sure, it's many brothers, hopefully this is not like this. They're saying, astaghfirullah. Look what he's talking about. Look, he's talking about the mashaykh stealing things. He's talking about stealing and recording. This is the average person is going to say. Everybody understand this? And he's going to miss the whole entire what? The point. Everybody clear this or not? Of being greedy and hungry for what? For ilm. And making the necessary what? From time to time. For him to another? Tayyib. Khairan inshallah. Before we go further, are there any other, do we have questions or not? If we have questions, we'll leave time. And if not, then we'll continue. Do we have questions? Are there any questions? Okay, we have 2 questions so far. All right, so we're going to 3. Once more, if there are any questions, please raise your hands now. There will be no questions after the salah. So 3 questions. Tayyib. That means we'll stop at 7:25. Khairan inshallah. Moving forward. The author, he says, وَهُنَاكَ آيَاتٌ كَثِيرَةٌ فِي الْحَثِّ عَلَى اتِّبَاعِ السُّنَّةِ وَوُجُوبِ لُزُومِهَا وَتَحْرِيمِ مُخَالَفَتِهَا وَلَا يَتَّسِعُ الْمَقَامُ لِسَرْدِهَا كُلِّهَا هُنَا. He says, and there are many verses in Allah's book, many verses in Allah's book that encourage and incite us to follow the sunnah and the obligation of sticking to it and the impermissibility of going against it, in which there isn't enough time to mention them now. Where are you going to come across, or how are you going to come across these other verses? Through what? Your own research. Everybody understand this? Your own what? Which is extremely easy now with Google, with search engines. Type in a word. Type in sahl jiddan. Back in the day, when there was no Google, you had to read it and research it yourself. Everybody understand this? So there are many verses in the Quran which all talk about the sunnah. And they give the sunnah its what? Status in one way. Now, one style. هذا هو acentum in what? Different styles. Everybody clear on this? Which all at the end of the day prove one thing, the status of the sunnah. Everybody clear on this? طيب. Continue, أخي. ومن السنة
ومن السنة عن أبي رافع مولى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم
أنه قال قال رسول الله
صلى الله عليه وسلم لا ألفين
أحدكم
متكئا
متكئا أريكته على الأرائك
يأتيه أمر
مما أمرت به
أو نهيت عنه فيقول لا أدري
ما وجدنا في كتاب الله اتبعناه. طيب. Jazakallah khairan. The first, now the author he's done for now talking about the Quranic verses that prove the status of the Sunnah and the legal authority of the Sunnah and how the ruling of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ is equal to the ruling of. Everybody clear this? That's done with regards to the Quran. Now he's moving on to the next phase, or the actual hadiths that prove the authority of the and the status of the. Everybody understand this? Because you may talk to someone who isn't a hadith projector, but he just doesn't know that it's mandatory. He says, I don't have to follow the hadiths. It's a good thing, but not what? The first narration is reported by Abu Rafi', the Mawla, the manumitted slave of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, who said, لا ألفين أحدكم متكئا على أريكته. Listen carefully to this hadith. because there's a lot of balagha and i'jaz in this hadith. He says, I shouldn't find any of you. I shouldn't find any of you or any one of you muttaki'an ala arikatihi, sitting back and reclined on his sofa, on his cushion, on his couch, on his bed. I shouldn't find any one of you sitting back and relaxing. Everybody understand this? He says, يَأْتِيهِ أَمْرٌ مِمَّا أَمَرْتُ بِهِ. He says what? To whom which one of my commands reaches, or one of my prohibition reaches. And he says, La adri. He says, I don't know about that. مَا وَجَدْنَا فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ تَبَعْنَاهُ. Whatever we found, or whatever we find in the book of Allah is what we will what? Follow. Everybody clear on this or not? Hadith here in the footnotes, the reference. He says, رواه أبو داود في باب لزوم السنة ورجاله كلهم ثقات. ورواه أيضا الترمذي في كتاب العلم من جامعه وقال هذا حديث حسن صحيح. Hadith is reported by Abu Dawood and the Tirmidhi, and for the talaba, this is what we call a takhrij, even if it's brief and mukhtasar, the referencing of the hadith, where the hadith is originally, organically found, with the isnad, between the author and between the messenger of Allah. Tayyib, as we explained this morning. So the hadith is reported by Abi Rafi' radiallahu anhu. His name and companion is Abu Rafi'. He says that the Prophet ﷺ said, لا ألفين أحدكم متكئا على أريكته. He said, there should not come a time, let me not find one of you sitting back and relaxing, and he hears about what I said, I commanded or prohibited something, and none of you should say what? I don't know. Whatever I find in the Quran, I will what? I will follow. The general highlighting point from the hadith is what?
Don't be lazy and authoritative.
La, that's not the main. هذا من الفوائد الجانبية, the legal authority of the sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ says, there should not come a time in which someone has this attitude. Whatever's in the Quran, we will, regarding to legal issues, but not in the... I understand this. Hadith clearly proves this, that Muhammad's ruling is equal to the ruling of... Everybody clear on this or not? هذا الشاهد من الحديث. This is the highlighting point from the what? From the hadith. As far as the balagha or the ijaz, the secrets of the hadith, he says muttaki'an. In this hadith is a subtle, it's a subtle, at the same time clear, dispraise of the pleasures of the worldly life. Being relaxed and comfortable and sitting back, slouched back. Clear on this? That's number one. Number two, even more subtle than that, a beautiful secret from this hadith, is it shows the divine connection between hadith rejection and between worldly greed. Hadith rejection and worldly greed. Most people today, when they reject hadiths, you sit down with them, you talk with them, 9 out of 10 of them is based off of something that they want from the dunya. It's based off of something that they want from what? The dunya. And it is not based off of technical science. That they actually believe in their hearts that it's not a thorough enough science, it's ahad, it's not mutawatir, there's kadhib, there's wala, la abadan. That's on the surface. That's on the what? It's on the surface. But you really sit down and talk with him, you read the book, you read the author where he comes from, you'll find that he only rejected hadith because of something worldly. Pleasing the kuffar. He rejected hadith because of the poor social, political status of his third world country in light of the Western countries. Everybody understand this? Something that he's afraid of, something that he wants of what? Of hayat dunya. Everybody understand this? And this is not something I'm making up. This is not my own deduction. This is actual things I've read and studied and discussed in detail. You'll find people that'll say this. Look at the Muslims. Look at the Muslim militaries. What's the strongest military of the Muslim world? Nothing compared to the worst military of the Western world. Nothing. Well, that's shade. America, UK, Canada, Germany, France. And even worse than that, the strong militaries of the Muslim worlds, or the most advanced and cultivated societies, in most cases are the most what? Furthest from the practice of the deen and the most secular. So this, look at this takhalluf for the Muslims. And it's because of the hadiths. They caused the Muslims to be prehistoric and left behind the rest of the nations. So the Muslims having a strong military, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Without a question. But at the end of the day, it's still something that's what? Worldly. It's what? It's worldly. Everybody understand this is what? It's worldly. Every country that has a strong military, do they fight wars? No. Oftentimes the strength of the military is nothing more than a means of what? هذا هو. Worldly status, pomp. فهمتم? Money, living in the countries of the non-Muslims, we have to be accepted. Politics, shaking a woman's hand, the hadith is totally fabricated. Because he wants to do what? Shake the woman's hand. Because I can't go to this office, I can't be this CEO, I can't do this, and I say, I'm sorry, I can't shake your hand. Then I'm looked at as a sexist, as a chauvinist, etc. Everybody understand this? And any other issue, LGBT, and this goes forward. Dunya. So the worldly life is the asal of this deviation. Everybody understand this? And that's why the Prophet says, Muttakiyan ala arikati. He says what? Comfortable. Everybody understand it? هذا انتبه الفائدة. لطيفة جدا. Very subtle benefit here. Read the next hadith and it'll become even clearer to you what I just said. Moving forward. وعن المقداد ابن معدي كرب. A new reader please. New volunteer. تفضل. وعن المقدام ابن معدي كرب. مركبة معدي كرب. شبعان
على أريكته يقول عليكم بهذا القرآن فما وجدتم فيه من حلال فأحلوه وما وجدتم فيه من حرام فحرموه ألا وإنما حرم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كما حرم الله.
طيب في الهامش رقم 3.
رواه أبو داود في باب علوم السنة ورجاله كلهم ثقات ورواه أيضا الترمذي في كتاب العلم من جامعه وقال هذا حديث حسن غريب من هذا الوجه.
طيب جزاك الله خيرا أحسنت. The next narration is reported by Miqdam ibn Ma'di Karib radiyallahu anhu. Listen carefully. انتبه. You stick with me, huh? Yes, you specifically. Yeah. He says, ألا إني أوتيت القرآن ومثله معه. He says, indeed, I've been given the Quran and something similar to the Quran with the Quran. I've been given the Quran and it's like together, ma'ahu, paired. Intabihu. Pay close attention to the language of the hadith, and that's a science in itself. He says, Ala yushiku. He says, indeed, a time will certainly come. Rajulun shab'an ala arikatihi. There'll be a man whose belly is full, and he's also. That makes a greater interpretation of the first hadith. And that is what? Dunya. Dunya. Lavishness. Luxury. Comfort. Pleasures. Everybody understand this? Is that he's full and he's what? Leaning back. The one who's a hard working person, a serious person, he in most cases is not going to get totally full. Let alone eat and then do what? What happens when you eat and sleep? What happens to your body? Salat, fahimtum? Is that the concept of worldly, luxury. Luxury, that's the asal in this. Everybody says it's not an accident why the Prophet said that. Everybody clear on this? He says in this man, what will he say? Alaykum bihadha al-Quran. Allahu Akbar. Look at this speech. And look at 2018. And this is the same thing. He says, stick to this Quran. Why are hadiths made up and fabricated? Why don't they have any status? Because the people have abandoned the what? Wallah al-Azim. Had a debate once. And also a session to help out. Someone has said that for you to say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah is shirk. Shirk akbar. Because you're putting Muhammad's name with Allah's name. And there's no idol worship in Islam. To say that the hadiths are like the Quran, it says idol worship. So the reason why it's wrong and false to say this and do this, the traditional Islam, is because you have abandoned the no. And what is this man going to say in this hadith? Alaykum. That's going to be nothing more than the ruse. That's the game, the trick. Everybody clear on this or not? That's the trick to bring you in. Stick to the Quran. You're not focusing on the Quran enough. Hadith, 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 hadith. Stick to this. He didn't say alaykum bil Quran. He said alaykum bihal this Quran. Everybody understand this? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said what? That this man will say, فَمَا وَجَدْتُمْ فِيهِ مِنْ حَلَالٍ فَأَحِلُّوهُ. Anything that Allah says halal in the Quran, then deem it to be halal. And when Allah says haram in the Quran, then deem it to be haram. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? Look at the answer of the Prophet ﷺ. Look how beautiful this hadith is. He doesn't say don't focus on the Quran. He doesn't say there won't be people who abandon. He doesn't say any of these things. He gives a simple, easy, lucid solution. Ala wa innama harrama Rasulullah kama harrama Allah. He says, indeed, what the Messenger of Allah says is haram is like, that's it. Plain, simple, and easy. There is no contradiction between my ruling and that of Allah. Everybody understand this? You get into an argument, you'll get caught up. No, that's not true. The people haven't abandoned the Quran. And the person says, look, the people have abandoned the Quran. Who's memorized the Quran by heart? Who knows how to recite it properly? Who's reflecting on this? You might get trapped in that. You don't even have to accept that premise. What the Messenger of Allah said regarding halal and haram is like what? And the proof of this from the Quran is what? Man yutir. Allah says what? La. No. Faqad. Wama. Allah says, indeed, he who obeys the messenger, faqad. Allah, he is indeed actually what? From the Quran only. Everybody understand this? You've refuted that false belief from the what? And you showed them how ignorant you are of that you're claiming to follow. And wallahi, you sit with many hadith rejectors. I've met a few of them in my life. You open up the mushaf, you show them things, they say, I never even knew that was there. Most of them, 9 out of 10 of them, don't even read Arabic. They can't even read the Quran. They're reading the translation. Everybody understand this? So it's very important to be what, akhi? Sharp with the Quran. To be able to quote it when you what? When you want to. Everybody clear on this? Khair, inshallah, we're going to stop here tonight. We'll take just a few questions, 3 questions we agreed upon, and then we will stop. Jazakumullah khairan. This will conclude the first module. Bidnillah ta'ala, the next session of the course will be announced. So once more, make sure that you stay in touch through the emails. The next course, when it will be, what time it will be, the information, the curriculum, the exams, the assignments, etc. Khairan, inshallah, this was only the first what? Module. Tayyib. As far as any questions that you have, or concerns, or further benefits, suggestions, or even criticism of the course, then please direct all of those emails to Abu Hurairah Center, and hopefully they will be dealt with accordingly. Bi-idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Concerns, questions, and also as well. Constructive or destructive. Khairan, inshallah. Tayyib, first question.
You mentioned with a lot of definitions, this is the fork in the road between fuqaha and muhaddithin. So, or not during the early generations, but during the later generations, where there, say, for example, Imam Nawawi, who's a scholar of hadith and who's a scholar of fiqh, just as an example, how was there still that fork in the road?
Clear, crystal clear. Fahim su'alik. Tayyib. Question says, a very good question. And alhamdulillah, a good question is representative or is symbolic of good understanding and good work ethic. A question symbolizes much more than just a question. The way you ask a question, what questions you ask, and when you ask the question, it shows a lot. It shows a what? It shows a lot. And a student of knowledge should work on and develop the proper way of asking a question. The proper akhlaq, the adab, respect, however, the time, and most importantly, how to summarize the question and leave the main points and leave the unnecessary fluff on the outside, because time is limited, energy is limited. Everyone understand this? This is an advanced technique with regards to seeking ilm. It's how to formulate the question what? Properly. How precise, how proper the question is worded, with the respect, the time, the place, the information, so on and so forth. It is going to be a means of feeding energy to the one who's going to answer the question. He's going to feed off it. It's like a pass. Playing basketball. Somebody throw you what? Quick no-look pass. He's going to make you drop the ball? Or are you going to do what now? Dunk it or anything else. Everybody understand this? It's a very important concept here. It's to develop the skill of asking what? Questions. Tayyib. So, the question says, you mentioned in the fork in the road, with regards to the technical definitions of the scholars of hadith and the scholars of fiqh and the scholars of aqidah, they use the term and the word sunnah or hadith, etc. So what happens when we have a later scholar who is a specialist in hadith and also a specialist in fiqh, such as An-Nawawi, etc.? We say that first and foremost is for a person to specialize in more than one science in general, especially in our times, is a rarity. That's awalan. Number two, it's even more rare when a person specializes in more than one science and doesn't have a stronger inclination to one from among the others, or in which that science has a clear rubbing off effect, a shedding effect on his understanding and practice of those other sciences. So specialize in hadith, fiqh, and tafsir. What are the chances that my love, my passion, my skill, and my efforts are equal in all three? 0 to none. There has to be one that's what? No question. Everybody understand this or not? In most cases, there has to be one that's what? I have 4 children. I love all of them. I look after all of them. I take care of all of them. But there's one who's my favorite. In what? In most cases. I love what? All of my children. But my other 3 children are not like my firstborn, or not like my only son, or not like my only daughter. This is, in most cases, this is the fact. So, a Nawawi or any other scholar that has several different takhasusat, he's going to have a sabgha ghaliba. It's going to be a dominant shade in color. And there lies no doubt that was fiqh upon a Nawawi. That was fiqh. Clearness. So his skill in fiqh, his tadallu in fiqh Shafi'i specifically, bila shak, is going to have a direct effect and an indirect effect on his understanding and practice of hadith. So just because he gives the definition doesn't mean that's the most organic definition or practice or understanding. Let alone the century in which he lived, the 7th century is not like the 3rd century. Everybody understand this? Wallahu alam. Who, you had one? Who? We said 3 questions. Aywa, we said this. We only have time for 3. We clearly asked, are there any what? Questions. We said that. Naam? Fadl Adam.
You mentioned how reciters, they drink warm water and not cold.
We never said they drink warm water.
They don't drink
That's what we said. Give me back what I what? What I gave you. This is a principle of studying. Give the teacher back what he what? Don't bring other information unless you're asked. And that's also from the concept of emptying your cup. Faddal.
And attached to that question is, can you teach me how to ask a good question?
Tayyib. First question says, or the first part of the question is, you mentioned certain reciters of the Quran avoid drinking cold water. As if you're asking why? Tayyib. When I was in the Prophet ﷺ city, I had many good friends who were expert Quran reciters. Young, older, different nationalities, different backgrounds. And they were talented and they were skilled. Not all of them, but many of them said, or not even said, the first time it happened, I offered a brother some spring water in Saudi. It's very hot. And he shunned it, like, no. Like, don't even bring that close to me. Don't even offer me any ice cold spring water. Then later on, talking to different people, sitting with them, some of them, not all of them, once more. We never said all of them. Some of them said that drinking cold water has an effect upon your throat, your tongue, your vocal cords. And if someone is a reciter of the Quran who's talented and skilled, he needs every single small, tiny, minute ounce of what? Ability to reach perfection. Someone who's not a reciter of the Quran is different. I drink cold water. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm not of that talent, that ability. Someone who's in the middle, no big deal. But someone who's a qari, mutqin, and he has a sweet voice that Allah blessed him with naturally. Every single small tweak and creak and thing makes a what? Huge difference. Makes a what? Huge difference. Everybody saying this with regards to if you're memorizing all day and you drinking honey or eating this type of gum or eating salmon or this type of fish or this thing that helps your memory, you say green tea, that little small extra 5% means a what? Means a huge amount to someone who's busy doing something. Like genetically modified food or engineered food in a laboratory. Why do they have to put enzymes of a pig in cheese or bread or pills or all types of things? You'd be shocked if you go to the supermarket and you find out things that actually have enzymes of a pig. The intestines, the blood, the flesh, etc. Not necessarily saying that it's absolutely haram. We never ever said that either. You can't have sushi in Toronto because it all has some type of pork in it. The point we're trying to get to is, you're going to say, why is there Al-Sistine in donuts? Why do they have to put duck feathers, crushed up duck feathers in donuts? Tim Hortons, Dunkin' Donuts. Why do they have to use feathers of a duck to make a donut? Because you're not making 1 million donuts a year. You're not making millions and millions of dollars. Every single dollar, every single expense that's cut is a major what to you? Major fa'idah. Because you're doing it on a huge, gargantuous scale. So any small, tiny shortcut that you can make to make a better product, quicker product, a tastier product, faster product, more money, the smart, shrewd businessman is going to what? He's going to do it. But to the layman, he's going to say, what's the big deal? Why you got to put that in there? Why does it have to have pig blood and pizza cheese? You don't understand it, but this is all we do every day, all day, every day. We make millions of dollars off of cheese for pizza. So we need every single small what? Nook and cranny and trick. So that's the Quran reciter of that level of devotion and dedication, whether it's a food or drink or sleep habit, certain things they just don't do because it has an effect on their voice. They don't have a raspy, scruffy type of voice. As far as the proper way of asking a question, then it's not enough time for me to teach you that right now. If I decided to even teach you that, maybe something you may have to learn by yourself. Inshallah ta'ala. Listen, watch, pay attention, observe. Perhaps Allah Azza wa Jalla will allow you to get that skill. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. May Allah bless you and give you success. The last question was by, well, we said we're only taking 3. We clearly said, are there what? Any questions? No one raised their hands. Tafaddal.
With regard to hadith grading system, their condition was of age. There was hadith companions, for example, Abdullah Abbas, they heard the hadith at a very young age.
Tayyib. Question says, with regards to hadith grading system, you mentioned that they have to be of age. What about the young companions, such as Ibn Abbas, that narrated things when they weren't of age? A very good question, just like the other 2 questions. First and foremost is, we never specified that age. We never specified that age because the information about hadith grading and hadith terminology, that's not a part of our course. That was only on the side. That was a garnish on the plate. It wasn't the main course. We have explained this, and others as well, but I'm just talking about what I'm responsible for. We have explained this in other lessons on Mustalah al-Hadith. Clear enough, so you can go back to that. As far as the answer now, in the 2 different meanings of age, 2 meanings. One is a tamyiz, and the other is actual bulugh. One is discernment, and one is actual pubescent age. When a person, a young child, boy or girl, can discern, they can figure things out. 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, they're not in puberty yet, but they get an idea of certain things that go on in life. Everybody understand this? They get an idea of certain things that go on in life. Such as the sister side and the brother side. I have a 2-year-old son, a 3-year-old son. I say, go give this message to your ummi. He goes and he runs over to the sister side. He doesn't understand what's going on. He doesn't know this one and that one. But my 6-year-old son or 7-year-old son, he goes over there. He's not in puberty yet, but he understands this sister is tall, this sister is short. She's light, she's dark, she's pretty. I really don't. He understands what's going on. Yumayyiz. He can discern certain things so that he shouldn't go on the sister side. He shouldn't be mixing with the women. Wahakada. You send him to the store. You give him a $20 bill. You say, bring me back a loaf of bread. The 7-year-old comes back with a loaf of bread, like you asked. He said, where's the change, son? He said, there's no change. You never told me to bring back change, Abby. You told me to get you a loaf of bread. And the 10-year-old son, he comes back, or the 11-year-old daughter, she comes back with the store with the bread and the change. Hadi mumayyiza. They are of an age of discernment. They can understand what's going on and actually accurately report things. I remember when I was a little kid, my Abby did this. When I was a little kid, my Abby put me on his neck and gave me a piggyback ride. Everybody understand this? You can't necessarily remember that when you're 2 or 3. You may remember it subconsciously, yes. Subconsciously, but you can't remember consciously. Everybody understand this? So the ulama of hadith, they had no problem with accepting the narration of a sabi al-mumayyiz, the child that is of the age of discernment. Everybody understand this? However, the child or the age of puberty is a bit different. 12, 13, 15, 16, whatever that age is. What are the signs of puberty? When does a woman become pubescent, a male, etc.? What's important is that's a different story. They're of age. And there's a difference. هناك فرق بين التحمل وبين الأداء. هناك تحمل وهناك أداء. التحمل يشترط فيه إيش؟ سنه إيش؟ تمييز. وأما الأداء والتبليغ فيشترط فيه إيش؟ البلوغ. In other words, for the narrator to see something and to accept, to take it, he has to be of the age at least of what? Tamyiz. 6, 7, 8. There's no restriction to the age. But for him to pass it on to others and it to be accepted and taken, he must be of the age of at least puberty. Fahimta? So that's what's meant by being of age. So I saw something when I was 7. I was aware of what was going on. But it isn't accepted in hadith science until I'm 15, 13, whatever I'm in puberty. Wadih? And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Jazakumullah khairan for your time, for your attention, and for your respect. Until the next session, may you be protected by Ar-Rahman.